Hey guys, what's up? It's Mickey with Jimmy as well. Dynasty from the Mountaintops talking this week. We got current trades. Name the quarterback. Little game I have for Jimmy to see if he can figure out what quarterback's which. With a few stats here. Value changes based on the league type. That's going to be the bulk of what we talk about today, and then navigating bye weeks if we have time. So first off, let's talk about trade talks. Jim, you had one in the works here, so go ahead.
Yeah, and me, process over players. So just trying to accrue more value. So Nico Collins was hurt, so I was trying to take advantage of the situation, especially now that he landed on IR. So I was trying to flip Amon to the Nico owner for Nico in a first. So I don't think I was successful, but those are the types of moves that I'm constantly trying to make, just trying to find value and trying to peer sideways, not down, and find more value when injuries happen. Especially it helps when you're tanking and you don't need points. And I think those are the types of moves that when you're tanking, you should be trying to do is find value and take advantage of injuries or situation and go from there. So what do you think about that move?
Absolutely. First off, the move was Nico Collins in a first.
Yes.
For Amon-Ra St. Brown straight up.
Yeah.
Nico might be in the same realm as Amon-Ra. So
that's the point. But I'm taking advantage of the situation of him being injured and missing at least 4 weeks plus a bye week, because Amon just had his bye week. So that's 5 weeks of value that you would not have otherwise, especially with a team that is, I think they're 5-0, 4-1.
Okay. So they're going for it for sure.
Yeah, they're going for it,
and one of the top teams.
And their first is trending late. So like in a 14-team league where you have a late first, I mean there's not much impact there, right? If your pick ends up being the 13th, 14th pick, I'm looking at a third round running back or first tight end off the board or the 6th or 7th quarterback. Like there's not much value there in general. So in my mind, like to get 5 weeks worth of points and while you're going for it, like that seems like a move that I would make. But I mean, we'll see. But that's where my mind is.
So you'd be trading away St. Brown for Nico in the first.
Yes.
Getting another first. Okay.
Yeah.
If you can get Nico in another first for Amon-Ra, I would hit accept instant.
Yeah. So
basically with everything you just said, is the reason. And I'm not a Nico. I was never a Nico guy. It doesn't matter at this point. He's proven the fact that he's got the best connection with Stroud, who's going to be there for the long term.
And it doesn't matter who tanked out Diggs. Like he's the alpha. That's why I was worried about him in general. Like, was he going to be the alpha? And the answer is clearly yes.
Clearly, he was the best player, arguably the best wide receiver in the game right now.
Yeah.
And the only person that really had an argument was Malik Neighbors, who's a rookie. So like.
Yeah,
I would hit accept instant.
He said no. So I mean, plus like Amon, like, and then I think those are the trades that I will keep doing. Like the odds of Amon ending up on my team by the end of the season is very, slim. Because like I'm waiting for the next injury, and then what value can I accrue from it?
You also had another trade that I was semi-involved in because my wife is in one of our dynasty leagues, and she needs a little bit of assistance since it's her first one.
But well versed in the fantasy landscape.
Oh yeah, not her first fantasy at all. We got her into a dynasty league, which was awesome. And she's jokingly talked about coming on the show, which that'd be sweet.
Real quick, does she like it?
Butt heads all the time.
Does she like it? Does she like dynasty?
Oh yeah,
I knew she
would. She says no, but I think she does.
Oh, she does.
If that makes sense. So anyway, you guys had a trade. She was trying to get Jalen Hurts off of you.
Same league, 14-team league, super flex. Start 10.
Start 10, all that. Super flex. And you guys were way off.
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit. I know her side. So talk about what your thought process was. And if you can remember what the trades were.
Yeah, the reality is for me, when I make trades, I look at the team needs, I look at the league economy, and just, and what I mean by league economy is just like, how active is teams, if I get a player, can I flip them? What are things kind of naturally costing? And I'm trying to set the market with our league with quarterbacks right now, because I don't think there's been a quarterback traded, at least a good one. Like Deshaun Watson's been on the trade market, and I don't think Nikki's got anything. I think she got a really crappy running back offer for
He's
him.
the 32nd best quarterback in the league right now. Like, there's absolutely no reason to move him. He's about to be out of the league or a backup.
Yeah. So, So I there hasn't been like a quarterback of note that's even been on the market outside of Mahomes and Hurts that I've put on the trade block. So I'm trying to set the market, and that's where we were very far apart, because what I noticed is her team has nothing but trash quarterbacks, so she's desperate, which I plan to take advantage of.
Justin Fields is a top 10 quarterback in the
for now, but
year.
I mean Russell Wilson could easily be starting this weekend.
Fantasy wise, in that league, he's a top 10. I'm just saying.
That's
I don't
fair.
think he's going to keep the job either, the way he plays.
No, I think you could easily see, you make the case that Russell Wilson is going to start this weekend.
Right. And
he has Derek Carr, who's hurt now, and she has Deshaun Watson, who's a disaster. So
yeah, and sorry, you said Derek Carr. I talked over you. You said Derek Carr's hurt right now.
Yeah, so he's out multiple weeks. So
or Hayner are going to start. We don't know which one. Yeah,
and I think I put in a waiver claim for Hayner, so hopefully I got him to just help block the situation. I did.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, you
just
got
try to block this.
Doesn't matter. I have the starter, so it doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, he was definitely the backup, but that's a whole nother conversation. So knowing the team, knowing, she mentioned that she is going for it, which is so that's.
I mean, she's 3-2. Makes sense.
But yeah, I mean, she's motivated to make a trade, and just knowing the market and knowing teams. There's very few teams that are well off, and knowing that there hasn't been another quarterback on the block. B, most teams cannot trade a quarterback and not get one back. That also complicates the situation. So that's where I was starting off with, I think Bowers, Puka, and a first for Hurts. And this is where we talked about too, where I just think quarterbacks are just so heavily tiered in that league, where it's just so hard to accrue one outside of drafting one. And there's no guarantee that she'll be able to draft one. Well, she doesn't have her 25 first, so she's stuck with those three quarterbacks. She does have some good pieces that she can maybe get off of a team, but also, so that's kind of where I was starting there. And then we kind of went from, she countered with Puka in a first, and that's where I
on keep trade cut, which I'm not saying keep trade cut is the end all be all.
I hate.
On keep trade cut, that was even.
Yeah, and that's where it can't be. Yeah, for me, and like I said, and sometimes I need to revalue my assessment, and sometimes based off the market, I will take less, take more, and maybe I need to reassess too. The reality is that if I take Puka in a first, which her, she gets a top 5 quarterback, our team is pretty young, pretty good to go. So most likely I would expect that 26 first to be late. I would also then be hurting my 25 first of hers I have, because that would be helping her significantly. And on top of that, I'm not getting a quarterback back, which means that I'm going to have to completely redesign my plan in the offseason. Because right now my plan is, hey, I have Mahomes and Hurts. I'm taking Ashton Genty at 101. I have Amon and Rashid Rice with 4 other first. I could have a pretty nice team next year. So that would force me to almost take a quarterback at 101. And then I don't know if I'm going to hit on them. So that really throws everything in chaos for my plan when I don't get a quarterback back. I don't mind tearing off of Jalen Hurts, but if you're asking me to tear all the way off quarterback in general, there needs to be an extra price for that.
Interesting. Okay. I can understand that mindset. Like I said, we just value quarterbacks differently.
Yeah.
I see Puka. I don't see Puka as that strong an asset, as strong as everyone else.
Well, he's had 2 knee surgeries in the last year.
Right, but he's still considered one of the top
he is, value-wise, but
one of the top 15 wide receivers value-wise. So you have to account for that.
Yeah, he hurt his knee in preseason. He came back, hurt it again.
Right.
And now he's been out way longer than he should have for not having surgery.
And he's going to be out longer than Cooper Kupp. When Cooper Kupp got injured before or after him, and he's going to come back before him.
So that's why then I pivoted off of Bowers and went with, I thought it was Puka, Tucker Kraft, which is an up-and-coming asset, and I think 2 first. Because once again, I'm expect.
I didn't hear that one, but just
Yeah.
my personal opinion. Bowers and Kraft right now.
Yeah,
pretty
I mean,
playing the
Bowers
same
is just he's the excite like he's, and that's where I don't like KTCP, where it's like we talked about this, Jaden Daniels being what QB1 right now. It's
He was
KTC.
two. Yeah, he was two.
KTC is
Josh
all
Allen's
about
two.
excitement. Bowers has excitement. He's a first round pick. He's been known for years. Like Tucker
Mhm.
Kraft was the second tight end on their team that they drafted. So stuff
And
like
he's
that. Where it's like,
outplayed Luke Musgrave though.
yeah.
Like he's outplayed everybody.
Well, I agree. Like that's
Now
why I
he
wanted
has
him.
the opening
Yeah.
for that starting tight end
Well,
position, and he's killing it.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted him. So like for me, it's like, Puka is probably worth a first plus right now. Like
Mhm.
maybe two first. You can make the argument. I have doubts about the injury, and at the end of the day, he was a fifth round pick, fourth round pick. Usually those players don't have longevity. So and now 2 knee injuries back to back, and
Mhm.
Tucker's probably worth a first right now.
Mhm.
And
right
two
now,
first,
absolutely.
and 2 first in a 14-team league where the reality is that if they come in, 10 to 14, like we talked about earlier, like there's not much value there. I can't do much with those picks.
Yeah.
Like my goal would then have to be to tier them, attach them to something to tier up, and I just don't have the players right now. So I don't want to take a chance on her first.
Mhm.
And like I said, her the 25 first I have of hers. Like I was expecting hers to come in mid, and that still might be a reality, but I don't really want to help her, and so that's where like I need more value.
Okay. No, that makes absolute sense. I was kind of curious about your mindset because how far off you two were,
Yeah.
and really how far off we were, is
Well,
not.
and No, and just the reality is like, and you know me, I'm overvaluing quarterbacks. I understand that. I know that.
Right.
I do
And I
think,
don't at all.
And
I'll
that's
show
fine.
you why in a
And-
little bit. I'll show you why in
Yeah.
just a few minutes.
but I do think the league will eventually catch up to my mindset, and I will be ahead of the curve.
Okay.
That's what I'm banking on. Like I'm banking on that. Like right now, people don't want to pay, which is fine. But all we're waiting for is a big injury, or Nikki's going to have 3 quarterbacks go south in a week, which is the reality, and she might not have a starting quarterback. And that's all I'm waiting for. Like I'm not going to sell light. Mahomes has struggled, yes, but the reality is he still has a lot of value, and all it takes is one desperate team have an injury or they're making the playoffs, and I will get exactly what I want. I just need to
Okay.
wait for the market to catch up to my mind.
It's betting on your strategy, which at some point you do have to do. So I definitely appreciate that.
But
we just have very
I
different
don't need to wait
strategies.
till next year. I have to wait till the 25 draft. I have time. Most of these teams do not have time.
Absolutely.
I don't want points. So Mahomes is struggling. Fine. That helps me. I'm not getting any points. And then on top of that, he will recover. He's proven that he will. Like it's
Mhm.
losing Pacheco, losing Rice. Like that sucks. And I really can't trade him. But you know what I can do? Start him next year. And I'll be happy to do that.
Yeah. I mean, if you're talking about Mahomes, he hasn't been a top 12 quarterback in over almost 2 years.
Oh yeah, I mean he
But-
needs to start throwing. He needs to start throwing 3 touchdowns a game like he used to. Like I completely agree. But this was also finally the year where they reinvested in their wide receiver room, where they had Kelsey, they had Hollywood Brown, they had Rashid Rice, they drafted Xavier Worthy, they had Pacheco, and that all just kind of fell, off a cliff. And that's part of the issue too. Now his best receiver is Juju Smith-Schuster, so he's not going to do well. So, but that's also
still Travis Kelsey, who he's finally
completely agree. But
noticed.
you also need to have receivers take their best offense was when Tyreek could take the top off, which was supposed to be Xavier Worthy,
Mhm.
let Travis Kelsey eat underneath, and then you go from there. And that they don't have that anymore. So, but regardless, he's starting for another 10 years, and that is worth a lot. Like have that roster security, that little the blanket of not having to worry about your. I'll take if he ends up being top 12, 15, and I don't have to worry about that position for 10 years. He also doesn't get hurt.
Yeah, I mean, if he's top 20 every week,
he needs to be top 10, top 15. Like, and that's I think with a healthy receiver room next year, like that's easy on the table for him. And I'm okay doing that.
All right,
I'll build it on them.
So we're gonna move on. Talked about that trade. I really wanted to get your mindset on that trade. And
Well, I would love to know what's the other side's mindset. Like where
that your quarterback thought process is way overvaluing quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Me and Nikki kind of agree on that.
that's fair. Yeah.
Bowers is worth more than a first. I didn't know about the Tucker Kraft, but I don't put him much for what he's done this year.
Yeah.
I don't see Tucker Kraft much lower than Bowers right now. Because
but I think he's worth
he's
a
only
first.
been a year in the league longer. Yes, he was a 3rd round pick, not a 1st round pick, but he's proven that he's good. Last year, he was good.
I mean, it's a small sample size, but yeah, he's definitely on the up, and that's what I'm trying
Really,
to
I mean, it was the second half of last year he played really well too.
Yeah.
Which is when I picked him up in the other league.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was basically what the thought process.
Well, we're basically playing chicken, right? It's like, okay, so Nikki doesn't want to pay my price, which is fine, but then she's also banking on someone else being able to acquire Puka and a first for a quarterback, but then you're asking that team, who probably will be most likely in the playoff hunt, to go from a position of average. Most teams are not in a position of strength with their quarterback to a weakness. That's going to be her issue.
Okay. I mean, I understand that process as well. I do. So
I'll be curious what happens. Like, we'll see who wins, who loses. Maybe there's a team out there. Like,
it
that's
kind of goes back to that conversation that we have every single week. I don't want to go back into it right now, but is it worth taking quarterback early rather than quarterback later? And really making sure that you solidify that one position, but might not be solidified in other positions.
Yeah. But the reality is quarterbacks just always hold value better than any other position. And that's what I'm not worried about.
We tend to disagree on that, but it is all I can say. So we're going to play this game real quick. Name the quarterback, all right? Do you want me to give you options or you just try to guess?
Yeah, multiple choice. I'm not too well known with the stats, so multiple choice would be great.
Okay. So it's going to be, the first one is the number 10 quarterback so far. Don't look this up. I know how
what league?
It's the golf league.
Okay.
It's 17.31 fantasy points per game. And if I can
NFL scoring is so way down.
Yeah, right. So he was a top 10 quarterback 3 of the first 5 weeks. Has 11 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. So that's the first one.
Okay.
Any idea? I'll give you multiple choice.
Can't be my quarterbacks because both my quarterbacks have thrown multiple interceptions.
Yeah, a lot of interceptions.
Yeah.
So is it Matt Stafford, Jared Goff, or Sam Darnold?
Sam Darnold's got more. I don't think he has as many as 4 interceptions. Let's go with Stafford.
It was Sam Darnold.
Was it?
Yeah. So top 10.
Averaging like an interception per game. Okay.
11 to, less than 1. Yeah. Next one is quarterback 15, I believe. Has not had a top 10 week. His points per game is 15.28. 6 touchdowns to 6 interceptions.
Mahomes.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that stat from Monday night. Yeah.
Yeah. He is the reason that we did this. And then the last one I just thought was really interesting. Number 5 quarterback so far this year, 19.05 points per game. 4 top 10, no top 5, but 4 top 10 finishes. Touchdown a week, so 5 touchdowns and 4 interceptions.
Options?
Again, Jared Goff, Josh Allen, Geno Smith.
Oh, well. Josh Allen had 1 big blow-up game. I'll go Geno Smith.
That is absolutely correct. Number 5 on the year. That's pretty consistent.
Yeah.
He had 1, I guess you would call bad game, especially
Giants.
Flex. Week 3, he had 17 points per game. That brought his points per game down. So,
but I think that proves just like with the support, like you look at the receivers he have and they're healthy. Like, yes, the quarterback can run and be effective, but it's like sometimes you also need to look at like what team is around him to really get him to that next level. Like that's where Mahomes is at for the longest time. Josh Allen, for the longest time with Stephon Diggs. Like sometimes, just like with receivers, like Justin Jefferson was knocked this year because of the quarterback. Like that's what gets you into that special tier, and he's still proven to be quarterback proof. Sometimes it just doesn't matter, but sometimes like Neighbors, that was the whole thing with Neighbors, right? Like he had Daniel Jones, so like he was gonna get fed targets, but they weren't gonna be great targets, but they ended up making it work. So
yeah, No, that's true. I actually wanted to use Daniel Jones, but I saw that he had couple really bad weeks, so I was like, we'll not use him.
Yeah.
um, but this was to just show kind of what you explained, that it matters about who's around you.
Yeah.
And that if you have a good support system, like a good team around you, it's going to work.
And offensive
Unless you
coordinator
are
and a coach who,
absolutely
yeah,
because Sam Darnold has not been successful in 3 different places.
Yeah.
But this was to basically show, like, Mahomes is the only one out of those 3 that people would draft early, right?
Yeah.
And he was by far the worst out of the 3.
Yeah, but I think that ties into quarterbacks holding value, quarterbacks building up that trust, like doing this for so many years, and knowing that, like, I think Mahomes is the only guy out of that top 6, 7, 8. Maybe Joe Burrow, maybe, but like he's going to start for another 10 years. Like, he's not going anywhere. Like, you don't have to worry about him ever. And I think that is worth something. It's different in probably other people's minds, but like a set and forget player is nice to have.
No, and that is one thing, absolutely. But
what does that cost? I don't know. I don't know what the value of that is.
Second quarterback is, in my eyes, not as important as your number 1 guy. Especially in most dynasty leagues where you're only playing one. If we're only playing in one single quarterback league, let's say.
Oh yeah, Mahomes
is on the bench in every league, or should be.
Yeah, but I think that's where that's about the Superflex holds that value. And like, yeah, looking back, like, I don't know. It's like I probably wouldn't pick Mahomes right now. Like, I would probably have gone Lamar and Jalen Hurts. But also, like, there's risk with those running quarterbacks, right? Like,
right, absolutely. They always get hurt.
Time.
Always.
Yeah. Well, their bodies wear out faster. Like, Lamar Jackson could be Cam Newton in 3 years. Like, and maybe 3 years in Dynasty's thinking too far ahead, and that's kind of where Dynasty's changing. But, I have my 2 guys, and I think they'll be around for a very long time. And, I think that's where we'll get. They may not be, like, Mahomes he'll never throw 45, 50 touchdowns again. Like, that's just not the NFL.
And this has never been an indictment on your team or anything like that.
No.
People talk about Mahomes in this way.
Oh, yeah.
In real life, he's unbelievable.
Well, this is the first time on KTC that, like, he's out of the top 10, like, in years.
Well, that's because of the perception.
But that's where, like, I talk all the time about that artificial dynasty value. He has a lot.
Yeah,
like, you just look at numbers.
Very artificial, I will say that.
Yeah, not great.
I will keep beating on this drum. I'm one of the first people I can think of. I don't know if there's a lot of people out there that have really talked about this, but, like, I am always looking for those young running quarterbacks, because even if you're looking 3-4 years ahead, you're going to have a chance to draft their replacement.
Yeah.
In that next 5 years when they're playing, whether
the reality is too, like, Mahomes
5 years or 10 years, you're able to draft their replacement and have him leading in the wins.
Well, even and too, like, you look at Mahomes on Monday, like, he threw 0 touchdowns, 300 yards, so that's 12 points. So he probably was around 10, 11, 12 points. He had a few runs there. But that's the problem, is, like, he doesn't have that running to boost him up. Like, Jaden Daniels has been averaging 40, 50 yards. That's an extra touchdown a game. So that's where, like, he needs that 3rd touchdown to really have that top-end game. I do believe next year when they have that support around him, he will get back there. That's kind of one of the reasons why I did draft him. Kind of like Rashid Rice is an elevating player. Kelsey looked better at the end of last season. They have the run game. They have Hollywood Brown now. Like, they're drafted worthy. So they're I think they're addressing the problem. It just, we never got to see it come together because Hollywood Brown was out before the season even started. Like, I think he would have easily been another top 5 player if they would have been healthy from the get-go. So, and that's where I'm like, I have no problem holding under, because he's probably at his lowest point value-wise, and I think he'll be exactly what I need him to be next year. If not, I'll trade him, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, personally, I don't think you can trade Mahomes right now unless you still have that cachet. Because you're right. If he does come back, then you're holding the bag with, I could have gotten more. And if he doesn't,
I have a starter for 5 years, 10 years. Yeah, and I still have a starter easily.
Right. But you're not going to be getting what you should be getting for.
No, and I'll take a starter for 10 years is worth a lot to me. And I know he'll be 40, and I'm just making up a number, but, like, if I don't have a quarterback that won't have a contract issue, won't have to worry about someone overlooking their shoulder to start over them. They're not going to draft the guy. So I can just keep taking position players with those guys starting, and that lack of stress is great.
Awesome. No, that does. It makes sense. That's a good way to get inside your mindset about why Mahomes is the guy for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like trust me, like I said, I know he's not going to be a three touchdown per game person anymore, and I understand that, and they're going to rush more because of Pacheco. But if he just could get the 20 points, that's all I need. Like even you said, top 10 is what 18 points a game. That's 2 touchdowns, 200 yards, some rushing. Like that's not hard to get to. No. It's just but when you're throwing the Juju, like you're going to have up and down, like you're going to have Monday night with 0 touchdowns. But
he was Juju catches for 4 weeks.
Yeah, but he's never. This is his lowest he's ever been, and look who he's been thrown to. Like a rookie receiver, Juju, Kelsey, who's finally getting up their age, lost Pacheco. Like they lost what they want to do well. Like there's reasons why he's only thrown 6 touchdowns so far. And if Juju catches that one Monday night, he's looking at almost a 20-point day. Take away the interception, it is 20 points, and we might be having a different conversation today if Juju catches that ball. Is my point.
That's a lot of ifs, man. But I mean, we got to move on. We got 7 minutes left. Value changes based on the league. So this is something that you wanted to talk about from the conversation that we had with the Jalen Hurts trade. Mm-hmm. Kind of explain what you mean by this.
Well, for me, I'm when I'm scrolling on the Twitter and I see they'll just say, which trade won, and it always drives me crazy because it's like, well, how many starters? Superflex, tight end premium, running back per carry or first down bonuses, like those all matter. And I think when you and I talked about doing a 14-team league, I really wanted to do that. I'm like, I wonder how things are going to change. And I think we're still very early on, and I don't know if we've really seen the full outcome of that, the equation yet. Maybe my brain, maybe your brain, or is maybe still too far ahead because of I've 7 years of Dynasty now for me, and I know you're year 3.
You're 3 years in.
Yeah, so we still have a lot of new people to Dynasty in that league, so they still don't know how to really value things. But I do believe that a 14-team league versus a 12, or how many starters, like that does affect how you value people. And that was the whole conversation with the Jalen Hurts trade was I feel like I should be overvaluing them, and I will die on that hill, and we'll see what a year looks like from now. And when teams are not having quarterbacks and they're desperate, and when you need to trade for one, I want to see what that first QB trade looks like, and I want to set that market. I'm hoping I can, because I think that will really give us an idea of what that looks like. Like, I don't think people really realize, hey, like if you don't have a quarterback, you really can't trade for one. I think people are so comfortable with their teams. There's been no real, yes, Jordan Love went out, but I think the guy had a backup. Like, we haven't really seen true desperation in our league, and we've seen that in a 12-team league. Yeah. I really want to see what that looks like in a 14-team league, and I do believe it will come. It's just a matter of when, not if. But that's where I'm at.
So I agree. I think it's hard to value right now. In the 12-team league, we kind of have an idea of where things are valued in the 12-team Superflex that we have. Start 12 is a new system, or it's 12-team Start 12 Superflex.
Yeah, and that really wrecks some teams. That 12-team by 12, like teams that went to the championship last year, teams that have not missed the playoffs in 3 years. They are the bottom of the league right now, and they are reacting late.
When we changed it over, you had to have a full team.
Yeah.
Is what people I think are realizing. Not just the starters, but you need the bye weeks too now.
Yeah.
And with all the injuries in the league, like, you have to have a complete team or you are not going to have a shot.
Well, and you need to shift your mindset from having hammers to starters. Like JSN, like he's a decent starter. Like I'm still expecting him to get to another level, but he's a good starter. Like that's what I think these teams have not reacted to, the fact that like they're very top heavy, but when you don't have anything in the flex and I'm crushing you in the flex, you're not going to win.
Right. When there's 5 flexes or 4 flexes, like you have to, there has to be someone in there that's going to give you points. And that's one thing that the teams that are successful right now have been able to figure out, is that their team is pretty much loaded from top to bottom in size. I don't know if you've seen that as well.
I look at one team who he's bottom 3, and he's got some decent pieces. He's got CeeDee Lamb. He's got Brees Hall. Quarterbacks have always been a struggle for him, but he's got AJ Brown. Like, he's got some really nice pieces, but he's not winning because
you only have 3 to 4, maybe 5 big names when AJ Brown goes down.
Oh, you and I are playing each other this week, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Well, I ain't worried about you. Actually, I probably should because
I think it was the highest point. I think it was the highest score last week.
Everyone's hurt on my team, so it happens. Whatever.
In his flex, he's starting Javonte Williams, Hill from Baltimore, Jacoby Myers, AJ Brown, Maybe, and he's got nothing but quarterbacks on his bench. He's literally got no other points. Maybe Christian Watson has disappointed.
And he got hurt again.
Yeah, so that's the thing is not that my flex is super great, but in a 12 start by 12 when I'm starting Mike Evans, Roman Dunze, Jackson Smith, Najigba, Miles Sanders, that's where I have one weakness. I also have Calvin Ridley. I have Adam Thielen. I had some pieces. I still trying to acquire more, but I have depth, and I'm also have a lot of rookies that hopefully will keep getting better and kind of seeing from there. So that's where you can't get what you can get for CeeDee Lamb in a 12 by 9 versus a 12 by 12. You could definitely ask for more in a 12 by 9, but in a 12 by 12, sometimes you just need starters. And acquiring 3 starters for CeeDee Lamb you probably would end up winning that trade 9 times out of 10.
The 3 starters will, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to be able to hold even 25 points a game, which is insane. Probably wouldn't happen, but that's still not getting you the 3 decent starters that are going to average 8 to 10. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And with spike weeks built in, I've been DeAndre Swift is a perfect example. He probably wouldn't even be starting on a team in a 12 by 9, but I've started him every week in a 12 by 12, and he's RB15, but the last 2 weeks 30 and 24, and guess who was in the lineups? I started him because that's how I built my team. Is I look at players that it's called wins above average and stuff like that, and I was able to capture that because he was in there.
Yeah. So we're under the gun here. We'll probably talk about this again, I'm sure. We love talking about value and how that works. So for Jimmy, this is Mickey, and we are Dynasty from the Mountaintops. Have a good week.